Welcome everyone to WarThunder Histories episode 6. Today we're going to be talking about the British Challenger 1 main battle tank. As always, we'll talk about design, development, service history, and how the vehicle performs in-game. I hope you guys enjoy. During the 1970s and early 1980s, it was becoming very clear throughout the Chieftain's service life that it was massively obsolete compared to other main battle tanks. This was due to a number of reasons, including the maintenance and mobility issues the Chieftain had, along with its relatively bad crew protection. Due to the speed of the Soviet Union producing better and more modern main battle tanks, a solution had to be found, and quick. Design of the Challenger began in the early 1980s when an order of Chieftain Mark V Ps, due to be delivered to Iran, was cancelled after the fall of the Shah of Iran in 1979. This made the British Army the new customer. Development of the vehicles was taken over by the former Military Vehicles and Engineering Establishment, or MVEE for short, in the early 1980s. The vehicle's design was based a lot on the Chieftain, whilst fixing all the serious design flaws, primarily its engine and crew protection. The Challenger was also designed to include Chobham composite armour, behind a thinner layer of rolled homogeneous armour. This would be focused on the front of the turret and front of the hull, giving the tank excellent hull-down protection. Chobham armour was designed and developed in Chobham, Surrey in England, as early as in the 1960s. Being tested in various configurations on the previously mentioned Chieftains, Chobham armour is still classified, so not a lot is known about the exact contents, but it is known to contain a mix of steel and ceramic plates. The armour is capable of defeating both chemical energy rounds such as heat or high explosive anti-tank, and could shatter kinetic energy rounds such as APFSDS or Sabre rounds. This armour, not only being much stronger than RHA, or rolled homogeneous armour, was also much lighter, therefore not hindering the vehicle's capability. Chobham armour has also been confirmed to have been used in a different format on the M1 Abrams. Uniquely about the Challenger 1, and Challenger 2 in fact, not only did it have composite armour, but it had a sloped turret face, which gave it an advantage over the US Abrams and German Leopard 2 since most Soviet kinetic rounds were optimised to penetrate flat-faced armour and not sloped armour. The Challenger was powered by a 26-litre Rolls-Royce Condor CV12 TCA turbocharged diesel engine. This produced around 1200 horsepower when compared with the 1500 horsepower produced by the Abrams and Leopard respectively. The vehicle had a top speed of 35 miles per hour on road. The tank was also given an APU, or auxiliary power unit, so that turret systems like TOGs and GPS could still be operated without the need for the main engine to be on. Thermal Observation and Gunnery System, or TOGs for short, allowed the Challenger to identify and engage targets from extreme ranges and in poor visibility. GPS is, well, GPS, you should know what that is. The Challenger also featured a hydropneumatic suspension, which gave it excellent cross-country performance, better yet with the David Brown TN37 transmission, which had 4 forward and 3 reverse gears. The transmission could also be replaced in field conditions in around 45 minutes. The Challenger was armed with the L11A5 fully stabilised 120mm rifled gun using 2-part ammunition, considered to be highly accurate, however lacked a good fire control system, hindering its capability slightly. Secondary armaments included 2 7.62 machine guns, 1 coaxially and 1 in a fully traversable commander's cupola on the turret roof. A total of 420 Challenger 1s were built, with the vehicle costing around £2 million in today's money, entering service with the British Army in 1983 and replacing the Chieftains fully by 1985, and they were being produced up until 1990. Weighing in at 62 tons stock, it was crewed by a driver, gunner, loader and commander, much as you can see here, like any other main battle tank. The first combat deployment of the Challenger 1 was a part of Operation Granby, where a total of 221 Challengers in Mark II and Mark III configurations were deployed to Saudi Arabia for the UK operation in the 1991 Gulf War. They would serve alongside US M1 and M60 tanks. Upon arrival to Saudi Arabia, all Challengers were modified by REME, or the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers, and civilian contractors for desert operations. This added composite armour to the sides of the hull and explosive reactive armour to the front of the hull, along with a smoke generator and external fuel tanks, which is shown on the Mark III variant in-game. There were serious concerns with the Challenger's reliability, as just prior to their deployment only around 22% of Challenger 1s were operational because of faults or lack of spare parts. Luckily, these fears were very quickly quelled. In combat, it proved itself. The vehicle travelled 350 kilometres in 97 hours, knocking out or capturing around 300 Iraqi tanks, and a vast amount of support vehicles. The Challenger also gained the title for the longest range tank-on-tank kill, when one was able to knock out an Iraqi tank at a range of around 4,700 metres, or 2.9 miles, using a Sabre round. Although I have found some figures that say around 5,100 metres, but it depends on where you look and who you ask. On top of this, it is also speculated that it was not just one tank, but 2 tanks. This record is also still held by the Challenger 1 today. Of the 221 Challengers used in Operation Granby, not a single one was lost to enemy fire, proving itself in combat. The British Army finally replaced the Challenger 1 in 1998 with the Challenger 2, with the final Challenger 1s leaving service in 2001. The Challenger 1 also is the basis of the Challenger 2, using pretty much the same hull with a completely new turret. The only other nation that I can find that used the Challenger 1 was Jordan, who operated just under 400 of them in total. And of course, if you'd like to see a Challenger 1 in person, you can go to the Bovington Tank Museum in Dorset where they have a fully operational one. So how does the vehicle perform in game? Sitting at rank 6, battle rating 9.7 in both the Mark II and Mark III configurations in the British tank line, with the Mark III being up-armoured. At battle rating 9.7 you're almost certainly going to be up tier to 10.3, but luckily, played right, you can defeat basically any kind of tank. With the L23A1 round you can easily defeat any tank from the side, but from the front you should always be aiming for the lower front plate, gun manlet or gun barrel. The biggest problem for the Challenger at top tier is T-80s and Leopard 2A5s. From the front, engaging T-80s, aim for the lower front plate, as it is likely to penetrate and ignite the ammo carousel underneath the turret. However, if this cannot be achieved, aim for the gun barrel and gun breech to at least buy yourself time to reload and hit it again. As for the Leopard 2, aim for the driver's viewports, to at least attempt to get through the turret ring. You can also aim for the lower front plate, but due to the configuration of the vehicle it is likely that you will only kill the driver, leaving the gun capable of hitting you. Due to the Challenger's armour configuration, you're best fighting from a hull-down position at extreme ranges. The Challenger has a very weak hull and a very heavily armoured turret. Even Leopard 2s and T-80s will struggle to penetrate your turret at range. When it comes to being forced into close-range engagements, well, just pray, because you will die unless you get your first shot through. It's just how top tier works. With regards to the Challenger's armour, if you include composite, the lower front plate is basically incapable of stopping kinetic energy rounds, but can stop chemical energy rounds up to 400mm, as shown here. The upper front plate, although slightly better, is still pretty much incapable of stopping kinetic energy rounds and almost certainly won't stop a chemical energy round. With just over 400mm of protection on the turret face, you will be capable of stopping T-80 and Leopard 2A5 rounds at extreme ranges. Although you won't stop any kind of kinetic energy round from the side, you are capable of stopping chemical energy rounds up to about 400mm of penetration in various spots. With regards to the turret roof, basically any kind of anti-tank guided missile will penetrate you, along with large caliber cannons. With regards to the gun and turret, you can elevate to 20 degrees and negative 10 degrees depression. With a max crew, you can achieve a reload speed of 5 seconds for the first 4 rounds, after which the reload speed changes to around 6 to 7 seconds. The turret can also traverse through 360 degrees in 12 seconds when the vehicle is spaded. All this in mind, it is worth mentioning that when the gun is traversed to the rear, it cannot depress due to the engine deck being in the way. In terms of an ammo load, I recommend you bring 30 rounds of Sabo, specifically the L23A1, and 5 rounds of Hesh, for when the Sabo doesn't penetrate. Hesh can be used to kill crew by hitting hatches and viewports. The Challenger has a very unique storage for ammunition, with the inert projectiles in the turret and the actual propellant and explosive part in armoured bins in the hull. This does mean that you are unlikely to have ammo cook-offs when the turret is hit due to there being no explosive in the turret. It also means that your ammunition will not all be destroyed at once when the ammunition is hit. Overall, the Challenger 1 Mark II and Mark III are both very enjoyable tanks to play, especially when considering your only real weak spots are the driver's viewport and the area around the gun. You're basically impenetrable at extreme ranges because it's just so difficult to hit these positions. The Mark III is obviously much better than the Mark II due to the armour package that it gets. It is definitely worth the grind. I've spaded my Mark II and my Mark III is very close to being spaded, and I cannot count how many times I've managed to bounce Leopard 2A5s and T-80s at extreme ranges, especially on Maginot Line and Fulda, where you can just sit behind a hill where it's just your turret poking out and rounds just constantly bounce off the top of you. The only thing to consider is helicopters. Although helicopters don't tend to fly quite low and quite close to you, even when they do, you don't really have any means of defeating them. Because you've only got small caliber machine guns, you can't engage them as effectively as, say, an Abrams with its 50 cal, or even a Leopard with its high rate of fire on its MG3. The machine guns are just not quite there to be able to defeat helicopters. Although I have had instances when Ka-50s have fired missiles at me and they have somehow not penetrated the turret face, which, you know, just is a testament to how powerful this turret is. Just before we end here, I'd like to thank Big and Golden for helping me get these videos together. If there's any vehicle you'd like to see on the show, any aircraft, tank, ship, I will happily research it. If you just leave it in the comment section below, I will do my best to do that. And of course, if you like the video, please consider leaving me a like and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.